Recording started.
Thank you. I'm going to give folks another minute or two here, and then we'll get rolling. Okay, well, just a quick reminder, again, wanted to welcome everyone to our second session of our summer sustainability series. This will be a great session about San Diego community power. We've got an excellent panel of speakers. Just a couple quick things. This session is being recorded, so we'll be able to post this on our website, and you can view it again later, or folks that missed it can watch it at their leisure. Wanted to remind everyone that attendees are muted, but you're certainly welcome to ask questions. If you hover over those buttons at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button. You can enter your questions there whenever, and we'll take questions at various points during our presentation. And then also, these are the remaining webinars in our series. Next week, we have a really fun one that's got an interactive component to it regarding recycling. But you can see the whole series up here, and we do hope to see you at another one coming up soon. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Corey Downs from the City of Chula Vista and the rest of our panel. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us for this next installment of our Summer Sustainability Series. We're definitely very excited to have you. Today, we'll be talking about home energy use and the carbon emissions that can come from it. In our most recent greenhouse gas inventory, which you can find on the CLEAN website, we saw that building energy use represents about 35% of the city's emissions, 19% from electricity, and about 16% from natural gas. So we know that providing clean energy is going to be really important for meeting our city's climate goals. Not only that, but clean energy, especially local clean energy, will be an important step to making our local economy more resilient. As we've seen some of the local impacts from the COVID-19 crisis, we can see how making investments in resiliency in our local economy can help improve business operations. This is why we're so excited to introduce San Diego Community Power to everybody today. We'll be learning about San Diego Community Power from Sebastian, who has been working from the City of San Diego, who has been working to set up this new organization. And then also hear a brief introduction to the Chula Vista San Diego Community Power Community Advisory Committee members. The Community Advisory Committee was created to help provide an opportunity for local input and is a great way for San Diego Community Power board members to stay connected to the ratepayers that they're serving. Finally, I'll be providing a brief overview of the Chula Vista Climate Action Challenge and how it can help residents put some of the sustainable practices they learn about today into action. So also just to reiterate, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question box. We're happy to answer any questions, and after each speaker, we'll take a quick pause. Thank you very much. Without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Sebastian.
Thank you very much, Corey, and thank you to the Chula Vista staff for inviting San Diego Community Power to this webinar. We're very excited to participate in the series and serve one of our member cities. To everyone, like Corey said, my name is Sebastian Saria, and I currently work for the City of San Diego, and we're providing staff support services through San Diego Community Power. And I'll go ahead and give a brief overview of the next slide. So very straightforward, San Diego Community Power is the newest CCA program, Community Choice Aggregation Program, established by the cities of Chula Vista, Encinitas, Imperial Beach, La Mesa, and San Diego in order to source 100% renewable energy by 2035 or sooner. As Corey mentioned earlier, the reduction of greenhouse gases is crucial for these 5 cities, for our member cities, as we call them. In order to do that, that's why this CCA program was formed. We're very excited about it. Next slide. So what are the agreements and goals of STCP? There are several, but one that I've already mentioned and that we made sure to make it as official as possible, if you will, is our collective goal from all the member cities to reach 100% renewable energy by 2035. To show how serious we were about this, when we were forming our, it's a technical term, the Joint Powers Agreement document. You could just think of it as the foundational document. We noted in there that we would source 100% renewable energy by 2035. This is something that has not been done by any other CCA program in the state, and something that we're very proud of. Besides that, we're also aiming to provide competitive rates. We're also obviously achieve GHG reduction goals to fight climate change, and several others that are of interest to our member cities, which are prioritizing local renewable and distributed energy resources, because the climate crisis is getting worse, and we need to be as ready for the impact as possible. Demonstrate local economic benefits, local workforce development, and innovative energy programs, and promote investment in communities of concern and programs centered on economic, environmental, and social equity. But in order to do all of this, the organization needs to be financially sound. STCP was founded in October of last year, 2019, and we're still in the startup phase. So we have a little ways to go until we can finally say, okay, we're strong enough to start putting dollars back into the community. But that's something that's always on our minds and that we're aiming to do. One thing that is not here and that I think is worth mentioning is obviously we're familiar with the traditional utility model. Here in San Diego, we have SDG&E, which is one of 3 investor-owned utilities in the state. And this utility, they serve a function which is to serve their shareholders, and our function is to serve our ratepayers. And so decisions that are made regarding our rates, for example, or types of programs that will serve the city of Chula Vista, for example, those are made out in public. And these are Brown Act compliant meetings where you all, members of the public, can attend, weigh in, and comment. And in my opinion, just me personally, I think that's one of the key differences and one of the key benefits is that these decisions are now made with you all in mind. And so just wanted to make note of that. Next slide, please. Here's one of my favorite pictures. This was taken at the inaugural Board of Directors meeting back in October. This was at the council chambers of the city of La Mesa. And if you can see in there, you can see your council member, Steve Padilla. He is our representative to STCP. And you can see everyone smiles because this is very exciting and a long time coming. One thing to note is Chula Vista has been at the forefront of making CCA happen all the way back to the early 2000s, before even Marin County up in Northern California started their own program in 2010. So definitely a long time coming, and here they're swearing in. They're doing their oath of office, which again is very exciting. And you can see here just the list of names of our primary members and our alternate members. So as I mentioned, your council member, Steve Padilla, he's our primary member for the city of Chula Vista. And then his alternate is John McCann. And I won't go through the others, but it's right here for you if you're interested. One other thing to mention is the benefit of being a founding member. So these 5 cities are the founding member cities of San Diego Community Power, and being that founding member provides a lot of benefits because you're involved in major decisions that are happening now, rather than, for example, if you wait to join later on when several of the foundational decisions of the organization have been made. And so it's exciting to have the city of Chula Vista be a part of SCCP because that means they get a say in how this organization will looks like and how it will continue to look like in the future. Next slide, please. So obviously, there's a lot of information here and very small lettering, so my apologies for that. But the point of it is to show that CCAs, community choice programs, are not a new concept. These programs have been in existence for several years, as I mentioned earlier, and they've really taken off from Redwood up in the northern part of the state, all the way down here in Chula Vista. In fact, SCCP is the latest CCA program to launch, and so we have lots of best practices, lots of lessons learned from the other programs out there to make this thing the best to make this program the best that it could be. And so I didn't even think about that. Oh no, Imperial Beach is the southernmost city, community choice city, but you guys are second. So SCCP, since the city of San Diego is the second largest city in the state, we make up the biggest load for SCCP, and so because of that, SCCP will be the second largest community choice program in the state, which is the first. The first is called Clean Power Alliance, and there are in Southern California as well. They make up unincorporated LA County and Ventura County, and several other cities. And so they are massive. So they get to claim the title of the biggest. But something to note is SCCP is the second one. And why does that matter? It just means more opportunity to serve as many customers as we can and provide more benefits longer term that can really provide some relief to our ratepayers. I think that's pretty much covers it. Oh, there are several other CCAs in San Diego County. So obviously SCCP is one of them. There are 2 others technically right now. San Diego County's first CCA was Solana Energy Alliance, serving, you guessed it, the city of Solana Beach. And right now there is another one that formed called Clean Energy Alliance, and this one serves the cities of Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Solana Beach. So once Clean Energy Alliance CEA launches service next year, then SEE, Solana Energy Alliance, will merge with them, and we'll be left with 2 CCAs in San Diego County. So technically there's 3 right now. Next slide, please. Here's a brief timeline of things happening with SCCP. So we have already formed our community advisory committee, and I won't talk too much about that. I'll let Carolyn and Ed do that for me. But we formed that entity. We're very excited because it provides our connection to the community, and again, that was a big reason why community choice programs were formed. Then the latter part of this year is hiring key staff. Among those is hiring our chief executive officer. That's something that's been in the works and that will be announced soon, which is very exciting. Then come 2021, sometime in January, February, we're expected to set rates. So obviously that's, that gets your attention, and that's something that, as I mentioned, will be done in a public setting in our board of directors meeting, where everyone is welcome to attend. And then we'll go ahead and launch the program. So as it stands right now, we have 3 separate phases where we start off with phasing in municipal accounts. That will be done sometime in March. Then we'll be phasing in a large commercial, and that will be done sometime in July. And then residential customers will be phased in 2022, January 2022. So it's pretty exciting, but we got lots of work to do before we can get there. Next slide, please. Here's a quick snippet of our website. Please note that this is our temporary website. We just hired a marketing firm to help us with more of the permanent branding. As you can see, we have a temporary logo as well to help us with a more permanent website, permanent branding. So bear with us if you see some errors on this website, and now you know why. It's meant to be temporary. But here you can learn more about us. So you can see we have different tabs for different information. 2 that I'll point out would be the board meetings and committees. Board meetings, you can find the agenda packets, when the board meets, the time, the schedule. You can find that there. And then in the committees tab, you can find that information as well. And I'll go into further detail on the committees in just a little bit. But yeah, here's our website, and feel free to go through it. Next slide. So here's a quick overview on our existing meetings. Right now we have 3 of them. One, we have obviously our board of directors meeting. They meet every 4th Thursday of the month at 5 p.m. Right now, those meetings, obviously because of COVID and the stay-at-home order, those are done virtually. But we, for August, we'll be using Zoom, and you're able to call in and provide public comments, just as you would if you were going in person. So keep that in mind. Our second meeting is the Finance and Risk Management Committee. This one deals with more technical issues coming down the pipe, more numbers. And so if that's your cup of tea, you're obviously welcome to attend. Those occur the first Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. And that meeting is actually coming up. That will be next Tuesday, August 4th at 3 p.m. And we're about to post our agenda. So keep on the lookout for that. It will definitely be posted by 5 p.m. Tomorrow. So you can take a look at that if you'd like to participate. Then last but not least is the one that I'm most excited about. And that's because I staffed this meeting. This is the Community Advisory Committee meeting. And right now they're meeting every 3rd Friday of the month at 1 p.m. We are looking to change that. But for August, we'll definitely meet, I believe it's August 21st. if you're interested in being part of that meeting. And here's, again, just for this meeting is where our CAC members, and again, Carolyn and Ed can talk a little bit more about it, just talk about issues that are coming up and that they want to make the board aware of. Because that's their primary purpose, is to advise the board of directors of any issues that are going on out there and that the board should be paying attention to. And I think that's it. I think the next one is the last slide. Yes. So again, my name is Sebastian Sarria. I currently work for the City of San Diego and in supporting staff for San Diego Community Power. Me personally, I am very excited for this because the move towards more renewable energy resources is critical, especially for the well-being of our families, of our children. You see news reports of temperatures getting hotter, and I fear that it's going to continue that way. And so I'm excited for SDCP to be in existence now, because I believe that this will be a key player in making sure that we can mitigate those impacts, that we can mitigate a future wildfire that may affect our communities. And so thank you so much for letting me participate and tell you a little bit about SDCP.
Great, thank you very much. If we get any questions, or feel free to let us know if we get any questions. Two really kind of just basic information that I wanted to add to that great information that Sebastian provided. We're a little bit of just a little brief introduction of the logistics of how this will roll out into our community. Sebastian mentioned the phased approach, where we'll be launching in 3 different phases. And it's important to note that with each of those phases, there's also going to be outreach to each of those customers. They'll automatically be enrolled in the program that was selected by their community leaders, but they have a choice to opt out of this program and stay with SDG&E. You know, I think it's really important that we reiterate that this is a choice, community choice aggregation. And so we are providing Chula Vista residents a choice of if they'd like to keep with their current energy provider or receive an electricity from San Diego Community Power. And like I said, there'll be multiple opportunities for them around each of those phases to launch. Another really important piece is to just mention that there's SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, will still be providing our community services. SDG&E will still be dealing or responsible for the distribution and transmission of the electricity, as well as responding to maintenance of the grid and some other energy efficiency programs. So SDG&E, like I said, there'll still be SDG&E. We assume there'll still be SDG&E customers here in Chula Vista, and SDG&E will still be a role, or there'll still be a role to play for SDG&E. We look forward to working with them in that capacity. With some of the logistics out of the way, I'm very happy to introduce the Chula Vista Community Advisory Committee. As you heard Sebastian say, this is really, a really great opportunity to make sure that we are, San Diego Community Power is listening to the community, and to help that, they created the Community Advisory Committee made up of 2 members from each jurisdiction. And I think it was really great that they created it so early and are really getting that input in the formation process. So without further ado, I'll allow Carolyn to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. And I want to thank the City of Chula Vista, too, for hosting this webinar and also for the Summer Sustainability Series. I think it's great. My name is Carolyn Schofield, as you can see on the screen. I'm a longtime Chula Vista resident and a retired teacher. I'm also a mother, and especially for me, a grandmother of 5 children who thankfully live right here in Chula Vista. So I really want to contribute to a better future, especially for our children, our grandchildren, and all of us. 4 years ago, I began doing community outreach to educate and gain support for issues that promote our values of human rights, environmental justice, and legislative accountability. in these venues, I worked with many different local groups, and this set the stage for my climate advocacy today. Then in 2017, our city updated its climate action plan to include the goal of 100% clean energy by 2035. So I really wanted to get involved with that for a couple important reasons that I'll mention in a minute. But I didn't really know about community choice energy. So I had to really start studying about that. And so I'm especially tell people that because I'm open to you asking questions, because I think I asked a lot of questions, and the people on the call today know about that. So two things that really stood out to me is that the use of electricity in our homes and businesses is the second largest contributor of our greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation is number one. But if we can tackle that part of our greenhouse gas emissions by changing our purchases of clean energy and moving toward 100% clean energy by 2035, we can make a big difference. And the second thing I wanted to comment about is households and businesses still need to continue to take important steps to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions from electricity, but that action alone isn't going to be enough. We have to change our system of purchasing electricity. So San Diego Community Power plans to provide affordable clean energy and meet our climate action plan goals in member communities. But it also provides a new way of thinking and a new way of doing things. For one thing, it's a nonprofit, as we've mentioned earlier. It's focused on people, systemic changes in purchasing electricity, and working together locally with transparency. And I think that's a huge opportunity, especially in these tough times. Several items that the committee has already been working on are, first of all, we're currently getting ready to start working on best practices in communication with our communities. And so I'm especially going to be interested in that with my teaching background. One of our members is a part of the board CEO search committee, and she's working there. And we've also drawn attention to the board for a PCIA fee lawsuit so that they could participate in taking action about that. And the PCIA fees are fees that SDG&E charges for their part because they are still delivering our energy. And we really want to keep those as low as we possibly can. So it's in our best interest to be involved when those things come up. So those are several issues that we're already have addressed or are addressing. So as a member of the Community Advisory Committee, I'm really looking forward to helping all residents in our community to be able to have a say and to have access to programs that meet their electricity needs, whether it's choosing a higher mix of renewables, getting help to make homes more efficient, or exploring new ideas and innovations, including things to do with electric vehicles as well. We want to ensure that all community members have affordable access to 100% clean energy by 2035. So I hope you'll check out our website and stay in touch. And I want to say thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned and as seen on the slide, my name is Ed Lopez, and I'm also a member of the Community Advisory Committee along with Carolyn. Do want to thank you all for the invitation and allowing me to join you all during this webinar. Carolyn did a very, very good job of describing the goals and aspirations of San Diego Community Power and some of our program opportunity and potential. So I don't think I'll rehash any of that in particular, but I do want to reemphasize that more than anything else, as a member of the Community Advisory Committee, we are here to ensure that there's a pipeline for community input and perspective and feedback and ideas and suggestions and innovations and everything with regards to the implementation of this community choice aggregation model here in San Diego that includes the city of Chula Vista. Personally, like Carolyn, I'm a longtime resident of Chula Vista, and over the years been fortunate to be involved in some community groups and boards ranging from Chula Vista Medical Center to South County Economic Development Council to various local school working groups in support of Sweetwater Union, Southwestern Community College, and Chula Vista Elementary School District. In all of those, and here especially, again, I think we're conduits to ensure that there's community engagement and participation and involvement. That's very important for San Diego community power. Again, Carolyn did an excellent job in describing the opportunity and the potential for SDCP. What I would just reiterate again is that we are embarking upon a very ambitious renewable energy goal. Certainly as we launch and implement and through the early stages, I think it'd be important to receive community input on how San Diego Community Power is doing and the progress that's being made towards that renewable energy goal. In particular as well, I think there's the opportunity via innovative model like SDCP to encourage and incentivize the implementation and adoption of latest technologies and newest models, whether they're involving distributed energy resources or, again, technologies maybe like microgrids, solar, and storage. And in particular, as Sebastian indicated, while we're not the first, one of the benefits of being a ladder CCA model is that we can see how other entities have embarked upon community and public-private partnerships to further their goals. I know up north in the LA County area, they're just launched a CCA model, has been working with local public school districts, with private sector actors like multifamily dwelling unit complexes, with urban infill projects, and others to ensure that all communities, including disadvantaged communities, can access affordable renewable energy. And they're implementing real innovative models that center around the role of their version of San Diego Community Power. So again, I think that there's a wonderful potential and opportunity here in the city of Chula Vista as an initial member to San Diego Community Power and as a CAC member like Carolyn. We're greatly interested and always welcoming any feedback, perspective, input, ideas, suggestions, you name it, in terms of how we can all move forward and achieve the progress that's very important for all of our communities. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I always definitely get very excited hearing from our community members and, just seeing this new opportunity to provide input into the energy planning for our community. So thank you very much. As they both mentioned, if anyone has questions or would like to reach out to them, there's an email on the screen. And if there is any, the email is right there, just the info@sdcommunitypower.org. And if there is, now we'll go to the questions. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer those.
Currently, there are no questions, but folks on the line, if you are interested in asking something, we can review questions again at the end of our presentation, or you can type them in now.
Well, I'll take the moderator's prerogative here a little bit, just to provide one, and everyone knows me, I love asking questions. So it's unique to be able to host something and ask a question, but I'll take this opportunity. One of the things that I think is, well, if I could say, the question would be, what are some of the opportunities of San Diego Community Power? And I think that they've mentioned a lot of the really good ones. But one that I'll just also highlight that we've seen some other CCAs look at in the region is something called a feed-in tariff, which is a version of a rate for solar customers, similar to the net energy metering rate that solar customers in our territory or region are currently familiar with. But a feed-in tariff typically goes a little bit beyond just what the energy building is, the energy that the building uses, And it can also incentivize those solar panels, solar producers to provide energy back into the grid and essentially switch from becoming solely a customer from the utility to being a customer as well as supplier of clean energy. And it sounds like a kind of very simple tweak. It's just a simple rate that's changed. But it definitely has a lot of carry-on effects. And I think, really one of the biggest benefits of it is it increases local supply of clean renewable energy. So if there's someone that's a current, someone that's a ratepayer of San Diego Community Power, that means that they're within the service territory of San Diego Community Power, and we can minimize some of the distribution losses that come from transmitting and distributing energy, as well as just keep more power locally in case of emergency. So we'll see kind of what comes out with the rate setting that Sebastian mentioned. But looking at some of the other areas and CCAs in the other areas of the state, feed-in tariff is definitely something that I'll be looking for. Next slide. And now, after answering my question, we'll move on to some information. Oh, actually.
Oh, I do have questions.
Yes,
if you would like to pause.
Yeah.
We have one from Lydia. She's wondering if CCA customers are still eligible for programs like CARE and FERA, F-E-R-A.
Yes, that's a really great question. So those programs, the CARE and the FERA programs, are assistance programs. And so, we definitely want to let all of, and for low-income residents, they provide assistance with their utility bills. We definitely want to let all of the residents know that those programs will still be going on. CCA customers will still be eligible for them. And they'll also be eligible for other energy efficiency, rebates, incentives, some of the other programs of those natures that SDG&E currently administers, and they'll continue to administer. So we definitely want to make sure that that we're still providing the residents that are receiving support from the utilities are still receiving that support, so they will be qualified. Yes.
Great, and we have another question from Bob, wondering if you can go over the timeline for the commercial, municipal, and residential startup with San Diego Community Power.
Yeah, and I don't know if Sebastian is still on. He might be the better answer for that. If you want to answer that one.
Yeah. That's a great question. Right now, and this is all laid out in our implementation plan, which is on our website. Right now, we have municipal accounts sometime in March. Then we have large commercial in July, and then we're expecting residential in early 2022.
And so thank you for that. And we'll definitely be reaching out, putting it in our press release, newsletters, trying to get the word out widely. And any affected customers by any of those phases will also receive 2 notices before the transfer, and allowing them to opt out and maintain their service with SDG&E, as well as 2 notices after the transfer. So there's kind of lots of opportunities to be notified of when that transition is happening, as well as letting the residents choose where they'd like to go. So thank you very much for those great questions. They're definitely really great. And if you get any more, please put them in the chat box, and we'd be happy to come back to them towards the end. Now I'll jump into the Chula Vista Climate Action Challenge, and just learn a little bit more about some tools the city is providing to residents. So like I said, put some of these great actions that the San Diego Community Power is talking about in action in their home. Next slide. So if you're not familiar, the Chula Vista Climate Action Challenge is basically a kind of a version of our climate action plan on a website. So it allows you to search for different actions, look at what we want to do as a city, but it also has more actions that are in our climate action plan, and they're broken out not by what the city has to do, which is kind of, it's an action plan for the city, but it's broken out at how households will take actions. So, it provides more information that's custom tailored for residents, and kind of the steps that they can take to put our climate action plan into place and help the city and our community reach our goals. The Climate Action Challenge has 4 main components. First, it allows residents to create a profile that also includes a carbon baseline. So they get a chance to answer a few questions, learn about where carbon emissions are coming from their actions. Then importantly, you can learn about sustainable actions to help reduce carbon emissions from that carbon baseline. And you'll learn about local resources that help you put those actions into place. A lot of times there can be assistance programs, incentive rebates, just information that's really helpful, and all of that's provided through the website. The last 2 are really more about engaging with a community. And we know climate change is not going to be solved by any one individual, no matter how sustainable or dedicated they are. It really will take not only a village, but a globe to solve climate change. And so the website and the challenge has a lot of tools to increase visibility and help each other work together to achieve their goals. So you can join or create community groups or teams, allowing residents to message each other, kind of keep track of what actions they're working on, as well as just increase visibility and let others know that you're in this challenge and you're taking these actions. Then finally, you can also engage with community on leaderboards through points. As you complete actions, you get points related to carbon emissions reduced from that actions. Those get totaled onto your community and team leaderboards and neighborhood leaderboards, and we can kind of see where in the city action is happening, which hopefully will spur further action. But then also there's lots of messaging on the action challenge. Again, we know it's, one person doesn't have all the resources, so we really want to help and engage and allow residents to help each other and assist each other. Each action has a message board where you can provide information about that action, or you can also chat and send messages between community groups. So there's lots of ways to, provide helpful information, identify challenges, solicit feedback, all that great stuff. Next slide. So the first step of this, if you're not already a member, is to join the challenge. You can go to cvclimatechallenge.com or the Chula Vista Clean website. You'll find this page that's up right here, and you can just click on the Join the Challenge. We have over 200 households that are currently enrolled, and you'll also be able to see the community group leaders. It is important for you to join the challenge, because if you jump straight into the actions, it won't provide you that local resources. So it won't recognize that you're from Chula Vista and provide you those local resources. So if you haven't done it already, it's really easy. Recommend you go to the website and join the challenge. Next slide. Once you do join and log in, you'll see a page that's similar to this. It's your dashboard, which has a little bit more information. But importantly, it will have on the left-hand side an opportunity for you to fill out an energy profile. You answer a few questions about how you use energy around your home, and then it provides you your carbon baseline or your carbon footprint indicator, which kind of shows you how your household, where the emissions are coming from for your household. This carbon footprint carbon baseline on here is mine. As you can see, it was pre-COVID. I had a lot of commuting emissions. And so that means that that's really where some of the actions that I should be looking at are coming from. So, even if you've done a lot of actions before, it's always really great to kind of recenter, think about what actions are most relevant to your household. But then we can also look at how we compare with others in the region as well as the globe. As I mentioned, this is a global problem, so we'll need global solutions. And this lets us know kind of how we're doing on that context. Next slide. So once you have that great footprint and you know kind of where the emissions from your actions are coming from, you can look at over 100 actions that are in the Climate Challenge and provide information or add them to your list and learn more about them and how you can put them into practice. There's different categories, and one that I'll call out is the hanging out at home category, with a lot of people being more homebound recently and sheltering in place in their home, trying to stay safe. There's a lot of actions that they can do to help reduce climate change emissions from their home. So there's a whole list of hanging out at home actions on there as well. Next slide. Another category that I think would be really resonant to a lot of people that are listening to this webinar is the category about information and community. So this is a category devoted to taking and learning about climate change and then sharing that information with others in the community. So it's everything from, like I said, just kind of learning about potential actions and how they can be put in place, to working with or meeting with friends, family, neighbors, and talking about those actions, all the way going up to City Hall. But I know San Diego Community Power really did come from the community, and so it's really great to see that the Climate Action Challenge has an opportunity to really harness a lot of those leaders in our community that are looking to encourage others to take action, as well as maybe, if someone is interested in taking action but doesn't really know where to start, this can provide them a really great resource and some really great first steps and other community members to take those first steps with. Next slide. So once you dig into actions, this is a little preview of what you'll see. As I mentioned at the top right there, there's a create a post or a message. So each message, or for each action, you can create a message related to that. But then you'll also see information up here. And all of this information is custom tailored to you based on that energy profile. So based on your energy bill, you'll be able to see what savings you might see from taking some of these actions, or how much emissions you'll see. It gives you ability to kind of custom it, as you can see, how many lights are you going to switch for this unit, so you get a better sense for affecting how it will affect your home. And then you can just click the Get Started, which adds it to your action plan. Next slide. So once it's on your action plan, you'll see it when you log in, but you'll also be able to see the step-by-step directions that provide more information about how you can take these actions, as well as the local resource I mentioned down below. This is, again, why you're going to want to sign in, create an account, and let them know you're from Chula Vista, so these resources apply to you. Next slide. So the last two things I'll mention are again, the kind of the engaging elements of it. So, we really want to make this something that residents are driven to do. I think we all, maybe, or we've all gotten into some of the games or a game and really wanted to get back to that game. And we'd really like to make solving climate change a little bit more like that feeling. And so, one of the ways they do that is as you complete more actions, you're recognized as different challenge levels. And so, as you do more, you'll be able to see, and other members will be able to see that you're taking more action. And, it's not for ourselves. I think there's a little bit of pride that we can take in taking these action. But really, the biggest reason for publicizing this with these badges and other challenges is to let others know that climate change is important to us. And as others see that we're taking action on this important issue and that it's the ways that it can affect our community, they're more likely to take that action as well. If they see Chula Vista community members taking action, they're a Chula Vista community member, they'll want to take more actions. So it's definitely a lot of designed around to make it fun, make it engaging, make it visible, and with the goal of inspiring action. Next slide. Next slide. Hello? Next. Oh, perfect. Sorry about that. So this last slide is just a list of the existing Chula Vista community groups that are already in the challenge. If you recognize any of them, there's a lot of really well-known community groups around Chula Vista, and you're not a member, join the challenge and join their team. They would definitely appreciate having more members in their team, which adds up to more points as those members take action and gets them to bump up a little bit on the leaderboard, which is always a great thing. But you'll also, again, be able to message with community members in that group and, say what challenge, what actions are you seeing? How is your, it's also good to talk about climate change and the actions, but with COVID and, being a little bit more homebound, it's also just really great to have a platform to talk about other activities with community members that are focused on climate change. And if you don't see a community group here that you're familiar with, it's really easy, just a click of the button to create your own community group. And then, like I said, you can be that group leader that's engaging with your friends and family, coworkers, letting them know that, you're a part of this challenge, you're taking action, and you'd like them to join you in taking that action. I think a lot of us sometimes underestimate how many people look to us for encouragement and for support. And this is a great tool to allow us to, to provide that and to reach out to our community in that way. Next slide. Perfect. So that was the last slide. As I mentioned, I'm happy to answer any questions about the climate challenge, or if we have any other additional questions for Sebastian or our Community Advisory Committee members. But thank you very much for joining us today for this installation of, or this version of this episode of the Summer Sustainability Series. And we're happy to, if you have any questions, please let us know right there. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. Right now, we don't have any additional questions. I'll give folks another minute or two. We'll also leave up this contact info for everyone, for Sebastian and Corey. But before we go to our next slide, I did just want to thank folks for attending, thank our wonderful panelists. What a great presentation, and lots of information. If you missed the very beginning of this, we noted that this is being recorded. So if you missed the beginning, this will be posted to our website at the same spot where you signed up for this webinar. And you can watch it later, or you can share with your networks if folks weren't able to attend. Still no additional questions at this point. If we can go to the next slide, I would just like to remind everyone that's on the line that we've got 7 more in our series that are coming up of our Summer Sustainability Series, including next week, which is going to be a really fun interactive recycling webinar. And then you can see the rest here as well, lots of great topics. Again, if you have any final questions, we've got a couple minutes. I can hang on the line. But again, here's that website where you can register down at the bottom. And then that's also where the recordings will go once each webinar is completed. So our first one's already up. It was our biking webinar that was last week. And if you missed that one, I would recommend checking it out at our website. So it looks like we don't have any questions. So I don't know if anyone from our panel had any final things to say. But if not, I think
this is Corey. It looks like we got a question from Mr. Ross about comments on microgrid and San Diego Community Power. Since we do have a little bit of time, I'll love to jump on that. And if Sebastian would like to add anything, feel free to. And that's a really good question. So for those who are not familiar, a microgrid is basically a building or a small number of buildings that have the ability to island from the larger SDG&E grid. And that islanding means that they can self-support themselves and that they can basically disconnect from the grid and maintain electrical power with their own sources. Oftentimes these are done around campuses, or a lot of times for emergency response. If there's a public works facility and we want to make sure that during an emergency, if the grid goes down, that our public work operation is still operating. A lot of times organizations will install microgrids in there. San Diego Community Power, hasn't really formed itself to make a official stance, I don't believe, on microgrids yet. But I do believe that it's definitely aligned with the more local desire for local control as well as local power. Oftentimes microgrids, ideally, are powered with renewable resources as well as local energy storage. And those are definitely aspects of San Diego Community Power, or the community energy infrastructure here, that San Diego Community Power is going to be looking to support. So we don't know necessarily how that support will come, but looking at what we've seen from other CCAs in the north, there's definitely will be a lot of conversations about microgrids, as well as other types of local renewable energy storage and other kind of local resiliency efforts that might not go quite to the level of microgrids, but would help provide similar services.
Corey, this is Ed Lopez. If I may, I think it's an excellent question. And again, due to its nascent status, SDCP really hasn't been able to wrap its arms, at least as I understand it, yet around microgrid and other models. But again, there's some other CCAs that have taken advantage. I know in LA County, there is a program involving partners like UCLA, LA Los Angeles County, CCA, and actually disadvantaged community multifamily apartment complexes taking advantage of the community solar tariff. You mentioned the feed-in tariff. A new tariff program is community solar, which essentially makes access available to solar for those who can't install their own, for perhaps because they're living in an apartment, for example. And up north in the Berkeley area, the city of Berkeley and the city of Oakland are partnering with UC Berkeley on a microgrid project that involves their public facilities and public libraries. So it's, I believe, there's tremendous opportunity to look at public institutions, their role to play, to provide, I think, as you described, enhanced access to renewable energy, particularly for community members who may not find access at the moment.
And if I can chime in, so as I mentioned before, SCCP is getting started. We are trying to get ourselves up on our 2 feet, but definitely thinking about this down the road. And obviously it's something that we want, but it's something that hasn't been put in stone in terms of a policy yet. So Corey and Ed are correct. There are opportunities out there that are exciting. And I see, Robert, your question. I am aware of the microgrid. And I agree, there's a lot of opportunity. And that's something that we're looking at. So please keep an eye out for that.
And you know, I'll just, and I know we've said it a lot, and we'll say it again, but the great thing about San Diego Community Power is there's visibility, and residents can, you know, go directly to the board members. You know, oftentimes, you know, there'll be, or we have Chula Vista board members that are the constituents of Chula Vista. And so there's opportunities for, you know, for residents and community members to let the board members know what are the important pieces. Is it microgrid or solar rates or community, you know, programs, you know, what's really important to them, and there is that visibility and opportunity. So, you know, definitely, it might take a little bit for the board to get there. They have to get fiscally solvent first. That's always very important. They can't do anything if they're bankrupt. But I would definitely encourage all interested community members to take advantage of the fact that whether that's through the Citizen Advisory Committee or, you know, making a public comment at a board meeting or one of the committee meetings, that there is this new opportunity to engage with these leaders.
Great, and I don't see any other questions. I just want to double check with Yasmin, our host, and also Corey, in case you had questions come directly to you. Those are all the ones I see. And if not,
I agree. There is no other questions I see.
Great. Well, with that, again, I want to thank all of our great panelists and everyone for sending their questions in and for joining us today. And if you have any follow-up questions, maybe we can backtrack a slide or two, Yasmin, to Corey and Sebastian's email addresses. Folks can contact them if they have additional questions there, if we go back a slide or two. And then otherwise, maybe we'll see you at our webinar next week. But thank you again, and have a great night.
And for the attendees still on, and I'm sorry, this came in late, but my email just changed. It is ssaria@sdcommunitypower.org. So just the San Diego.gov part is changing. But are you posting these slides?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
It's going to be published on our website.
Okay, awesome. I'll email you the new email address. It just happened today.
Awesome. Thank you, Sebastian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thanks again, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.